Hey, how's it going? So it's currently Saturday, the day before the HOKA Half Marathon here in Sydney, and I'm just preparing my gear. So these are the main pieces of equipment. Obviously we got our hat, shirt, shorts, some sunnies, as well as the running belt. I'll be throwing in about 3 Morton Gel 100s, just so I have some fuel for the race. And obviously got the bib. And then I also have my shoes, which are the Asics Super Blast 2s. I ran with these during my first marathon. Found them really comfortable, really bouncy, like them a lot. You'll see here there's a secondary pair of laces. So these are elastic laces. I picked these up trying to test them out and see how they felt. Honestly, I wasn't really that much of a fan. I found that there was just too much pressure wrapping around the foot. Made it quite uncomfortable because as you run, your feet will probably start to swell a little bit just from the blood flow. Perhaps if you're doing something like shorter tries where comfort or fit is a little less important, maybe that'll work out quite nicely as you're shaving quite a bit of time off your transition. But I just found, because of the things I'll be doing, those mainly being like marathons and half and full Ironmans, transition is honestly quite a small portion of what you're doing. So it's not really worthwhile, at least from a comfort perspective. I think it has a lot more importance when you're dealing with these longer events. So I ended up taking them off and lacing back in my regular laces, and that's what I'll be working with tomorrow. So we finally reached race day. The weather was looking good, and after throwing on my gear, I had a light breakfast, some bread with jam, as well as some sports mix for the electrolytes. After arriving with just 20 minutes to spare, it was time to start soaking in the atmosphere, one of the best parts of all events. I was in the blue starting group, which I picked way back in October as I had no idea what my fitness would look like when the event came around. It was definitely slower than where I'm at right now, but I'll touch on this later. From joining the starting queue to starting the race, it was about a 10-minute wait, as runners are being drip-fed through a gate. But after a little shuffling, we were finally off.
Many hours later.
So it's now late in the evening, and I spent a pretty big part of the day just recovering after the event, eating a lot of food, making sure I get rehydrated, and going through my stretching routine, as recovery is quite important at this point in time. And I will say that after an event, food always slaps as you're just starving. And overall, I'm pretty happy with how the event turned out. I ended up finishing with a time of 1 hour and 43 minutes, which I'm super proud of because I've done virtually zero tempo training. I never train below 5-minute pace. So I'm super stoked with how everything turned out. I would say, as a small aside, my phone did start recording in my race belt for the whole duration of the race. So I have like an hour and 45 minutes of footage of just racing belt ASMR. I don't think anyone wants that, but leave a comment if you do and I'll upload it. So I wasn't able to capture any real footage following the end of the race. All I could do was take a few pictures and then set up my Garmin Pay so I could get home because I didn't have any other way to pay for things. So while the weather itself was pretty good on race day, the course itself was a different story. While the weather was clear blue skies, there wasn't any wind, temperatures were pretty good, the course had a few problems. And to start off, when I picked out my starting wave back in October last year, I had no idea where exactly my fitness would be and what pace I'd be running, so I picked blue wave. And admittedly, this is probably a little bit behind where I'm at right now. Probably me being conservative, I think it was a good decision, but turns out it was probably a bit of a hindrance now if I was trying to set a PB, which I did, but it was a contributing factor. It was quite crowded. And since I was running at a faster pace than the majority of the starting wave, I ended up having to spend a lot of time just weaving back and forth between people, which added a couple hundred meters of extra distance, which I had to cover over the duration of the race. It probably would have been less of a problem if I'd started in a faster wave with fewer people. The course itself was also surprisingly narrow in terms of the width of the paths. So for example, to me, the benchmark right now is just the Canberra Marathon. And as it was taking up full roads with multiple lanes, say like a highway, there wasn't really any issue with congestion. Whereas a lot of the paths on the HOKA Half are quite narrow, so you'll find that you're almost shoulder to shoulder with people as you're running through the course. And if you're trying to run faster than people, it's kind of hard to overtake. It's a bit awkward and you end up having to move laterally rather than straight. So if I gave Canberra a 5 out of 5, which I think it does deserve because of how like spacious it is, I'd probably say HOKA is around a 2 out of 5 just because of how narrow and congested it is, given how many people there are. And beyond this, the terrain itself is quite hilly at times. There are quite a few steep hills that you have to work through, and I'd say it makes it very difficult when combined with the narrow footpaths and the high number of people to get into a steady pace. So you'll find yourself having to surge randomly just to maintain a consistent pace throughout the course, which makes it a bit harder to be consistent and plan properly. And while this may not seem like much, as you aren't dealing with it when you're training, you'll find on race day that it can be quite bothersome to have to jump between people and work through like larger hills where people are almost shoulder to shoulder and there's no way to cut through. So compared to earlier start waves, or for example in my experience running the Canberra Marathon where we started pretty much at dawn, starting at a time like 8 o'clock, the official start was around 7:49, it takes about 10 minutes to get to the actual start line. You're running in hotter temperatures, so you have the added benefit of being in a faster group where you aren't having to weave through many people, as well as running with cooler temperatures. So for a given effort, your heart rate isn't as high. I'd say from personal experience, things start to get a bit harder around the 10K mark. Especially if you're pushing yourself and trying to get that PB. But overall, I can't complain. I haven't done any tempo training, so I'd say I'm super happy with the overall result of the race. But now it's time to recover, reset, and get ready for the Kiama Tri next weekend, where I can also test out this bad boy. Super excited. So to close out, if you also ran the HOKA Half Marathon, leave a comment below. I'm keen to hear about your experience. And if you want to follow the rest of my Ironman journey, hit subscribe. Let's keep moving.